What's up, guys? We are back with another Diamond Select review, taking a look at the second entry in their Bruce Lee line of figures. So this is kind of what I think of when I think of Bruce Lee. The first figure was the yellow jumpsuit, but the bare-chested Bruce Lee is kind of just the go-to vision of him that I have whenever I think of Bruce Lee. So we've got this guy here in the standard kind of larger format bookend style packaging. I don't really know if that's what they call it, but that's how I've always described it. So you've got him here in the big blister with all of his accessories. You've got a shot of Bruce Lee down there and then his name running down the side. The side panel has a shot of the master himself, and then the back of the package has kind of a bio write-up as well as a bunch of product shots of what the figure can do and what all he comes with. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, our Bruce Lee figure, and in the sake of full disclosure, this figure was provided to me for review by Diamond. So let's jump right in and see what this guy's got going on. He is similar in some ways to the previous figure that we got, the yellow jumpsuit, but there's a lot of new stuff here. It's not a figure that shares a lot of parts, but he has a lot of the same accessories. This is just a different iteration, a different look for Bruce, and honestly, when I think of Bruce Lee, a lot of times I think of this particular look, the shirtless Bruce Lee, so this is maybe more in line with what I really wanted to play around with, so let's see what he does. So he's very similar in construction to that other figure. He's just not exactly sharing the same parts through and through. So you've got a head that's on a ball peg. He can look up a little bit. It's mostly because his hair hits his neck right away. You can look down a little bit. There's not a whole lot of tilt, but a little bit, and then you've got full rotation. Arms go out at the shoulders, and then they rotate. There is what looks like a butterfly joint on this guy, and just like with the previous figure, I cannot get it to do anything. I'm not sure if it's actually there or not, or if it's more of a stylistic thing, because I've heated him up and he still doesn't really want to move. So you've got a bicep swivel, we've got double jointed elbows that give you a pretty wild range of motion, and then you've got hinge and rotation at the wrist. He's got a diaphragm cut. It's really tight. It only gives you a little bit of movement, really. He goes backwards, and then he goes forwards. And then there is a little bit of tilt, but there's not a whole lot of rotation because of just how the cut is. So you can get him to go about that far. There is a waist twist down there, kind of creaky. You've got drop down hips here, which is pretty interesting. So drop down hips, they go all the way out, so you can get him to do those Bruce Lee splits. They kick forward way far because of that drop down. That helps quite a bit. And then he goes, I mean, all the way back, really. You've also got a thigh cut. He's only got single jointed knees, but because of how they're cut, they do go back pretty far. It's not the prettiest thing on the backside, but he does actually have a pretty wide range of motion, despite the fact that it's only a single joint. Then you've got rotation at the ankle, you've got rocker, and then you've also got hinges down there. So he does move pretty well. I've been able to get him into some pretty solid poses, and the only real, thing that really gets in my way is I wish the upper torso could twist a little bit more, but otherwise, he's pretty solid. Now, in terms of the aesthetics, the overall look here, I've already kind of said it. This is a look that I prefer for Bruce Lee, just in terms of, his looks in various films. The shirtless Bruce Lee, to show off just how absolutely shredded and jacked he was, I think it comes through pretty well here. The musculature on this guy is really well defined, especially on the chest and the abs. The abs are, I don't know, those are washboard abs if I've ever seen them on an action figure. And then the actual striations in the musculature on the chest are pretty wild. So they went to great lengths to actually make him seem as muscular in figure form as he truly was in real life. His back is also really well done. There is a lot of paint on this figure. Being a diamond figure, there is a lot of paint just on the figure overall. He's basically entirely painted, and there is still a little bit of a wash on him as well to bring out some of that musculature in a little bit more detail. You've even got your painted nipples down there. The pants are blue, and then they've got kind of a little bit of black dry brushing on them, and then you've got some white paint down here on the shoes and on the socks that come out of them. So there's not a great deal to really go into detail on here because, well, it's a shirtless guy with some pants on, but I think it really looks like him. I think it works really well. The only real, downside, depending on your point of view here, is that, well, it's a diamond figure, so he is going to skew larger. He's not going to go into a lot of other lines with other figures because Bruce was definitely not a tall man, and he's about 7 inches tall. So, you could throw him into any of your diamond setups, and then of course you could maybe use him with McFarlane DC stuff, have him show Batman and Superman who's boss, but I do think that for the most part, they got the look down pretty good here. And that carries on to the head sculpt. And this is, I believe anyway, the same head sculpt that we got with the previous yellow suit figure, just with a little bit of different paint applications on it. And dare I say, it looks a little bit better this time around. I still think that the likeness is definitely not 100% there, but it's pretty close. I'm happy with the way this figure looks. I mean, it's quite obvious to me that this is a Bruce Lee figure. That enormous head of hair is a pretty big giveaway, but there is a little bit of a wash on the face. The lips seem to be a little bit more saturated in color, and then the eyebrows and the eyes are really crisp and clean, very straight. No real gripes here. Now for accessories, we have got a fully loaded figure here. He actually has more than the previous figure. Not a lot more, but more. And he has, to begin with, an extra head sculpt, and this is a different head sculpt from what we got with the previous figure. So this is not as quite of a crazy expression as that other figure's extra head sculpt, but it is still very much an action-oriented, kind of wild one. So you've got one where he's actually emoting there, and then you've got a little bit of dirt on the face, and everything else is pretty crisp and clean. There's not a whole lot to really write home about. I prefer the stoic standard head sculpt, honestly, but this one works pretty well, and I honestly, I can see what they're going for in this one. We've also got some extra hands. We've got 6 extra hands for a total of 8, obviously. So you've got the gripping hands out of the box, and then we've got some fists. We have got some style pose hands. So there's 2 sets of style pose hands. You've got a set that look like this, and then you've got a set that look like this. So kind of 2 fingers out on this side, and then the middle and the ring finger tucked in on this side. So you've got 6 extra hands, 8 total. And then we've got some weaponry, and a lot of this stuff is rehashed from that other figure, but done up in a different color. So we've got, to start with, we've got the nunchuck spinning effect. So this guy's a big monster piece of plastic with a stick coming out of it. You've got the chain effect in there, and then the translucent plastic. This is black instead of yellow this time around. We've got the nunchuck in motion effect piece here. So you've got a nunchuck, which is kind of permanently crooked like this for a slashing effect, and then you've got the actual kind of wind effect coming out the back of it. We've got a regular non-effect nunchuck. And then the new stuff that we've got this time around, we've got some fighting sticks. So just 2 sticks here. He can hold both of those just fine. And then you've got your bow staff, which is just as tall as the figure. So there is a lot of stuff in this box. He has 2 heads total, 8 hands, and then a menagerie of weapons. You really got just about everything you need when it comes to equipping this Bruce Lee figure. So overall, I'd say that between the 2 Bruce Lee figures that we've gotten from Diamond so far, I think this is my favorite. A lot of that, again, is kind of just subjective because I like this look, but I do think that they got the sculpt down pretty well. Musculature is pretty crazy, and I really dig that on this particular figure, and I like the array of accessories that he comes with. The paint applications are pretty solid here, no real gripes to speak of, and it looks pretty solid for a Bruce Lee figure. I only truly wish that he could be more true 6-inch scale, but at the same time, he's going to look pretty good on his own, and I don't really need to throw him into too many other displays, to be honest. So yeah, he's a pretty solid figure. So that's going to do it for this look at the Diamond Select Bruce Lee. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.